As the sun sets on the 2018 Abu Dhabi Tour, the riders are getting ready and packed to go home. But for the mechanics, the hard work is starting again. With each team consisting of 7 riders and there being a time trial at the race this year, that's 2 bikes per rider for the road races and 1 for the time trials. There are many teams with upwards of 21 bikes to pack. And they've got to do all that before they fly out, most of them doing that at 2 a.m. tomorrow morning. So it's a tough old job. This is Michele, who's a mechanic for Team Sunweb. I assume, Michele, that you've already packed up the time trial bikes from yesterday, but you've now got 2 bikes for each rider to pack up before the flight later.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That was the reason for me being back here today in the pits, is just to basically clear up the time trial bikes. In total, we had 8 time trial bikes, 1 extra for Tom, and then we've got 14 road bikes to pack. So it was easier for me to stay behind and get the time trial bikes done earlier.
How many mechanics have you got here at the race?
Just 2. These kind of races, it's normally 2. The Grand Tours, only we have 3 mechanics.
Which bike bags are you using for the team?
We've got 2 different ones. We've got a Shimano one, a Pro one, which we use for the time trial bikes, and then a secondary Shimano one, which we use for the road bikes, for the lighter bikes, yeah.
So Team Sunweb are using these Pro bike bags, at least for their time trial bikes. As Michele told us earlier, it is quite a time-consuming job for the time trial bikes, and you can see why when you look inside here, because they have not only dismantled a lot of it, but done a very comprehensive job at making sure that the entire bike is completely wrapped up and that there's no damage going to occur, because these, as you can see, are soft cases. One of my biggest concerns when it comes to a bike box or bike bag is how easy it is to manoeuvre around the airport. And actually just getting this one out here is one of the best I've ever seen. It's incredibly easy just to wheel about and get in the direction that you want without taking any of the weight in your hand. As well as the multitude of bikes that each team needs to bring, they of course also need to have spare wheels with them. Firstly for different conditions, but secondly in case they get punctures out on the course. These are the Zip wheels from Team Katusha, and they will all be put in a separate box or bag ready for the flights later. As well as the spare wheels, Katusha have also brought out a couple of spare frame sets here, just in case anyone damages theirs beyond repair whilst they are racing. They haven't actually come out of the bike bags this week, because fortunately they've all been all right in terms of the bikes. But they here, as you can very well see, are using Skycon bags, or Shikon, or however you pronounce it. I've never quite been sure. Again, these are really easy to wheel around the airport. You may well remember Jürgen from last year's Vuelta a España. He is the mechanic that is solely in charge of Team BMC's time trial bikes, and as such he's travelled out to Abu Dhabi to look after them. But I understand you managed to get your time trial bikes in this bag without taking much off at all.
The only thing we take off is the RD. But normally it should be fine to travel with it. It's just like, a protocol on the team. But this is very easy. We just take the wheels out. The wheels are in the side pocket, bike in, and that's it. Nothing more.
So no pedals off, no rear mechanism off?
No, nothing we take off. Just the RD, but that's just protocol on the team.
And what about now with a combination of rim brake bikes and disc brake bikes? Does that make things more complicated in packing them up?
At the end, no, because those bike bags, they have the adapter. So that's perfect. You just use the true axle and instead of a quick release, that's it, nothing else.
And how long are you expecting it to take this evening once the teams and the riders get back to do the last bikes from the road?
I think it's going to take like maximum 15 minutes a bike, so that goes really fast.
There's a really nice touch actually from Jürgen. If you look down here, he has zip tied the chain to the chain ring so that the bike doesn't get scratched at all when it's in transit, and that's definitely something I recommend you would do at home as well, because you definitely don't want to scratch the bike that you've actually bought. Also, I was just looking inside here and thought that was a good idea. He's double bagged the wheels for extra protection, but it's just because they brought too many wheel bags with them. But again, I think that's a good idea for those of you at home who are travelling with your own bike. Another trick of the trade that we've just learned from Jürgen is that with these bike bags, should I say, you can attach them all together to make it easier to transport multiple bikes around the airport. Look at that. It's a bike bag train. But we better take the train back home now, because they're not ready to go yet. And you can also see here that it's not just the general public who also transport extra bits and pieces inside with the bikes. Here we have got some spare tubular tyres. Safe to take with the bike because obviously they're nice and soft. It's now 10 to 7 in the evening and the first of the teams are arriving back at the pits here. Annoyingly for the mechanics, their job is made even harder today because there's actually been some rain in Abu Dhabi, so the bikes are quite mucky. They're busy cleaning them off now. They'll then dry them with the air compressors, which you get in Formula One garages, before packing them up into the bike boxes and bike bags. We're with Team Sky now, and they have actually helped to the development, as you can see, of this particular bike bag, DB. Nothing to do with Dave Brailsford. That actually stands for douchebag. This is another reasonably soft case, but it is also designed so you don't need to take the handlebars off or the pedals or indeed the rear derailleur. So quite easy for mechanics to get the bike straight in. There's a much heightened sense of urgency around this area now, I must say, since all of the teams have arrived back and a big race to get everything packed up is in full swing right now. But if we look away from Team Sky on either side of them, here we have Quick Step and behind you we have Bahrain Merida, and as you can see, both those teams are too using Cycon bags, so it seems like they've got a big share of the market in pro cycling. And Bahrain Merida have got theirs in team colours, which includes bling gold, yet again, not just their SRM head units, but indeed the finishing details on their bike bags as well. And it is not just the teams who are packing up bikes ready to go home. Shimano provide Pinarello bikes for the neutral support here at the Abu Dhabi Tour. And they, as you might well expect, are using their own pro bike bags, as well as a couple of Pinarello cardboard boxes, which do work well when you fly. We're with the Bardiani CSF squad now, who are using B&W bike bags with the Cipollini bike logos on the side. They are, as you can see, soft cases, and they do require a little bit more disassembly than some of the other bike boxes and bags here. The mechanics are taking the handlebars and the pedals off the bikes before they put them into a frame inside here, which you can take out and then wrap it all up inside the bag. That's Roger Hammond you can hear behind me. It's not just the mechanics who are rushing about. Actually, some of the sports directors from certain teams are giving the mechanics a help too. He's fast. Old Rolf, isn't he? The mechanics, of course, also have to transport their tools and spare parts about with them, and they've got some really nice boxes to do that. Check this one out from Tim over at Lotto NL Jumbo. If that's not good enough just there, look at what's underneath. What would you do to get your hands on them? I really like that. The bike bags and boxes that they are using are supplied to them by their team sponsor Bianchi Bikes, and they are unmarked Polaris boxes. The last team to arrive back here at the pits have been Team Movistar, probably because this car has transported Alejandro Valverde back as well. After he won the race, he would have had to do press conferences and talks with journalists, etc. But I'm sure the fact that they'll be working a bit later is more than offset with the celebration of the win. Whilst we're on the subject of Movistar, they are in fact the only team that we've seen here with hard cases. They are provided to them by Elite. You might think that's surprising, and you might also be saying, yeah, but the teams don't actually pay for their bikes. They're provided by the bike manufacturers, and that is true to a certain degree. Well, speaking to other mechanics, they've almost never had an incident of a bike getting damaged in a soft case. That said, something like this is going to offer your bike more protection. It is going to be more expensive, but then it's protecting something expensive as well. So it's a bit of a trade-off. Well, our work at the Abu Dhabi Tour 2018 is done, even though, as you can see, a lot of mechanics and soigneurs, even sports directors, are still beavering away working behind me. I have to say, those guys, especially mechanics and soigneurs, have an immensely hard job. I kind of had a sense of it when I was riding, but it's not been until I stopped riding and started looking behind the scenes that I really found out how long their hours are and how long they put in to each and every stage. And during a Grand Tour, that racks up to a lot of hard work. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the coverage that we've brought you out here in the Middle East. If you have, give this video a thumbs up just down below. And if you've missed some of our coverage, you might want to click on the video just over here, which is a general roundup of the tech of the Abu Dhabi Tour.